evening, hello and welcome. You're with the news today. This is your primetime destination. News, newsmakers, talking points. Tonight, the big talking point is the stage set now for the impeachment of Justice Verma, the judge at whose home a large haul of cash was found. We'll have exclusive details of the three-judge bench report on Justice Verma. Is impeachment now the only option to remove the judge? Also, we'll be telling you, is the American dream over for thousands of Indian students as the Trump administration clamps down? We've got plenty on the show as always for you. But first, it's time for the 9 headlines at 9. The Trump administration halts student visa interviews amidst widening social media vetting push. Orders missions to stop all new visa applications. Already scheduled visa appointments will continue. Deep probe findings in Judge Cash Hall row. India Today learns only Justice Verma's family could access room where cash was found, according to the three-judge report. Government mulls impeachment of the judge. Mock drills to take place in 3 border states tomorrow: Gujarat, Rajasthan and Jammu and Kashmir. Operation Sindhur is still ongoing, claims the government. Top Congress netas slam Shashi Tharoor for hailing Operation Sindhur, and the Modi government calls him a BJP spokesperson. Congress netas remind Tharoor of strikes and that took place during the UPA era in 1965 and 71 against Pakistan. More proof of India's strikes on Pakistan air bases. Pak's air warning system at Bolari Air Base was likely hit by India's BrahMos. Sat images show missile strike craters. Relief for Ashoka University Professor Ali Khan, Mahmoodabad. Supreme Court extends the interim bail granted to the professor, tells SIT, don't try to expand the scope of the probe. Anna University sexual assault case, accused Gnan Shekaran found guilty by a Chennai court. AIDMK claims credit for forcing speedy action. DVK says attempt to cover up by the DMK failed. Actor turned Neta Kamal Hassan reignites a language face-off, says Kannada was born out of Tamil language. Chief Minister Siddaramaiah says Kamal Hassan unaware of Karnataka's history and culture. As 3 Indians go missing in Tehran, India raises an issue with Iran. Indian embassy in Iran tells government to trace the Indian citizens immediately. They had been on their way to Australia under false pretense. Let me then turn to the big breaking news that we are getting at the moment in the Justice Yashwant Verma case. The cash that was found at the house of the Delhi High Court judge. The government now, we are told, is seriously considering an impeachment motion against Justice Verma. Sources saying the Modi government will take the opposition into confidence ahead of the monsoon session of Parliament, which begins in July. India Today has accessed the full cash haul report by a 3-judge panel appointed by the Supreme Court. The report says it has established the presence of cash at the house of Justice Verma, and Justice Verma wasn't able to explain the cash source when he was questioned. Report says that the judge claimed that this was a conspiracy against him, and that was his only defense. Joining me now is our legal editor Nalini Sharma, joins us for more. Nalini, what does the report say about Justice Verma and his involvement in this alleged cash haul?
Well, Rajdeep, first and foremost, the report says that there is strong inferential evidence that states that the cash was in fact present in that storeroom where the fire occurred on the intervening night of March 14th and 15th. It also goes on to say, on the basis of the statements given by the witnesses, who were the first responders, that the stacks of cash that were present in that room were at least 1.5 feet high, and the stacks continued from the door itself right till the opposite wall of the room. So the entire length of the room, there were 1.5 feet high stacks of cash that were present in the room. How much of it was burnt and how much of it was removed by his staff is something that they've not been able to ascertain. Along with that, it also goes ahead and says that once the presence of cash was established beyond reasonable doubt, the burden of proof was on Justice Verma to go ahead and give details of exactly where that cash came from, what was the source of the cash, but no reasonable answers were given by Justice Verma during the time that the inquiry panel interrogated him. Along with that, he was also not able to give any reasons behind how this cash could have reached his house. He only gave a flat denial and alleged that there was a conspiracy against him. Another interesting aspect that has come out through this report and the details of which we've now accessed is that the inquiry panel had also asked the Delhi Police Commissioner as to why there was an FIR that was not being registered by them when they arrived at the location, because they were the first responders. To which the Delhi Police Commissioner had responded that there were legalities regarding registration of an FIR against the sitting judge. Justice Verma was also not present, which is essentially why they could not get a go-ahead from the Chief Justice of India and did not register an FIR at that particular point. Another important aspect that has come out from this entire report is that that storehouse where this cash was found was only accessible to Justice Verma and his family, and the committee has clearly stated that there was no outsider that could get access to the storeroom. So it's damning evidence that is part of this report against Justice Verma, on the basis of which the impeachment motion is now likely to be initiated. It remains to be seen why Justice Verma is still remaining defiant and how he plans to take on this entire legal war in the days coming ahead.
Right. Nalini Sharma bringing us those very, very explosive details. Clearly, Justice Verma now on the back foot. Appreciate you joining us. A major scandal unfolding in India's judiciary as Justice Yashwant Verma faces allegations of this undisclosed cash wads that were found at his residence. The government now weighing impeachment. It hasn't successfully been done in this country over the last 7 decades. It's a rare and complex move against a sitting judge that will require a 2/3 majority in parliament for the judge to be impeached and then a full vote in the Rajya Sabha as well. Take a look at our top story today, a judge who's now clearly in the dock.
A story shocking the very foundations of Indian judiciary. The Narendra Modi government is considering impeachment proceedings against Justice Verma, a sitting judge of the Allahabad High Court. This comes after a shocking discovery of cash at his official residence in the national capital during his earlier posting at the Delhi High Court. Sources tell India Today the impeachment motion could be moved in the monsoon session of Parliament if Justice Verma doesn't resign. Then, Chief Justice of India, Sanjeev Khanna, had written to the President and the Prime Minister recommending impeachment after Justice Verma refused to step down. A Supreme Court appointed committee of 3 judges from the Punjab and Haryana, Himachal Pradesh and Karnataka High Courts had indicted Justice Verma in its report to the CJI. Sources say the panel confirmed the cash was found in a locked storeroom used by Justice Verma's staff, and yet the judge pleaded ignorance.
सीजीआई को चाहिए था कि वो कहते कि एफआईआर दर्ज करो और इसकी इन्वेस्टिगेशन फर्दर कि ये आया कहाँ से कैश, किस किस ने कैश दिया, ये सारा कुछ इन्वेस्टिगेट हो करके और फिर उनको जो है छुट्टी पर तो भेज ही रखा था और क्रिमिनल एक्शन होना चाहिए था और इम्पीचमेंट की प्रोसीडिंग साइड बाय साइड होनी चाहिए थी.
Sources say the government will take the opposition into confidence before moving the impeachment motion. But impeaching a sitting High Court judge is no easy task. Under Articles 1244 and 217 of the Constitution, the process is lengthy and politically sensitive. It begins with a motion of impeachment, backed by at least 100 MPs in the Lok Sabha or 50 in the Rajya Sabha. Once admitted, the Speaker or Chairman must constitute a special investigation committee. If the panel confirms proved misbehavior, the motion must then pass both the houses, with a 2/3 majority of members present and voting. Only then can the President order removal.
Given the fact that everyone would be ad idem on the principle that corruption cannot be tolerated anywhere, keeping in mind the larger protections that are envisaged between the Constitution of India and therefore what are the steps to be taken which are correct in law and in procedure, we should be hopeful that no one would be ever covering up any act of corruption, certainly not the government of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and certainly not the judiciary, which would like no taint on it.
Justice Verma has rejected the Supreme Court panel's findings, calling them motivated and false. With the monsoon session just weeks away, the pressure is building, and India could be headed for a rare and unprecedented showdown in Parliament. Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's raise the big questions then tonight. Is impeachment the best and only option in the circumstances? Should there be a complete police investigation against the judge? What is the ideal way to probe our judges? Joining me now, two very special guests. Justice Sanjeev Banerjee, retired former Chief Justice of the High Courts of Madras and Meghalaya, and Indira Jaisingh, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court, former Additional Solicitor General, and someone who through a long and distinguished career has taken on the judiciary and judicial corruption in particular. I want to come to you, Indira Jaisingh, first. As those details are coming off that three-judge probe report, sources to India Today saying that the judge clearly is in the dock. How do you think the government should respond? Is impeachment now the only option if the judge decides to stick to his chair?
Impeachment is certainly a desirable option. I would say it's an unavoidable option. But Rajdeep, I must say that I'm a little disappointed that the full text of the report has not been made public, neither by the Chief Justice of India, the then Chief Justice, nor by the current Chief Justice. And petitions which went to court under RTI asking for a release of the report have been rejected by the court. So I don't understand this mix of transparency with non-transparency. But coming to your question, yes, impeachment is inevitable and it is the only solution for removal. I heard you talk about a police complaint. Yes, a police complaint is possible, but it will not result in removal. At best, it will result in pending the investigation, non-assignment of work, but he's already not being assigned work.
So let me get this right. You're saying you would like this three-judge bench report, which a Supreme Court appointed committee report, to be made public? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying exactly that. I'm saying it has not been made available till today, even to the MPs. Let's get one thing very clear, Rajdeep. It is not the government that impeaches or removes. It is the members of parliament. This report should be the property of the House. It should be the property of members of parliament because they will now have to sign on to a motion for his removal. The government does not sign on to a motion for removal. Remember, if the government were to sign on to a motion for removal, it would be a very dangerous political precedent, okay? They could then remove anybody they want to remove. No, it is the House. It is the privilege of the House to move an impeachment motion which gets admitted. And so at the very least, I would expect this report to be tabled in the House or be made individually available to every member of parliament. But apart from that, Rajdeep, you did mention that I've been pursuing the issue of judicial accountability for several years. I, as a member of the legal profession, I, as a member of the public, I have a right to read this report regardless of the outcome of these proceedings.
Do you agree with that, Justice Sanjeev Banerjee, in the first instance, that if this report is out there, if this report has indicted Justice Verma, as sources are now telling us, do you believe this report must be out in the public domain, or would that be would that in some way be unfair against the judge? Or should there be a police investigation? How do you believe this should now proceed?
That report should be made public immediately. It's an investigation which had been ordered by the Chief Justice of India. That part of it was made public. The previous reports of the Chief Justice of the Delhi High Court were partially kind of disclosed. This report should be made public. Everyone should know so that, particularly the MPs, they can take a call on whether or not to sign on this issue once it reaches the parliament.
So are you saying that the logical a solution to Justice Verma, who at the moment is claiming innocence, is therefore only impeachment now? Do you believe that
Yes,
there is
there
any
will be a
other
further
way in which this
investigation.
can be resolved, given that in 75 years we've never had really a successful impeachment?
Well, there was one case where, it was passed by one of the houses and the judge resigned. And
That's right. Justice Sumitra Sen was passed by the Rajya Sabha.
yes,
And he
and
quit
in
days
this,
before the Lok Sabha was to take up the motion.
exactly. And there was similar conspiracy theory propounded by him also. But of course, in this case, there will be a further investigation by the in terms of the parliamentary procedure for impeachment, and that will also look into his allegations. You can't just throw up your hands and say that there was a conspiracy unless there's some particulars. From what I believe from your access to the report is that the committee members concluded that no one other than family members had access to the place concerned. And therefore, that is quite a damning fact. And it calls for an answer. And if there is no answer, the obvious inference has to be drawn.
Should there be a police investigation as well, Justice Banerjee, if this was an ordinary citizen in whose house
Not at the
cash
moment.
was found in large
First
amounts? The first thing would be a police investigation.
First and foremost, there should be this process of impeachment, and after that, there could be a police investigation. There's no problem. But first and foremost, we should, and I'm not saying, I don't know whether he's one of the rotten apples, but first and foremost, we should get rid of some of the rotten apples from the judiciary.
If this is the report, should the judge be resigning before the impeachment motion, in your view, as I said, happened with Justice Sumitra Sen, who resigned before the Lok Sabha was to take up a motion? Or do you believe the judge has every right to defend himself, as Justice Ramaswamy attempted in 1993 when there was an impeachment motion against him?
If the judge is convinced that he did not do it, he has a right to defend himself. And we do not know what is the truth. Sometimes these reports don't throw up what is the truth. But, the impeachment is the logical process, and he has a right to defend himself. Whether he takes a call on resigning is completely personal, and I'm nobody to advise him. But yes, this is a serious issue, and this is, indicative of a malaise. I'm not for once holding this judge responsible or saying that he is wrong or that the cash was his, but it's indicative of a malaise which has to be tended to.
Do you believe, Indira Jaising, therefore impeachment is a way of sending out a strong signal to other judges who may allegedly be also rotten apples? We're not yet pronouncing on the guilt of Justice Verma, but do you believe that impeachment is the ideal way to probe judges?
See, Rajdeep, first and foremost, there has to be a proper fact finding. And the only way that you can have a proper fact finding is by impeachment. Okay? This 3-judge committee did not have access to a lot of material, and they have just come to their own prima facie conclusion. See, in Ramaswamy's case, although he was not impeached because, mind you, the Congress abstained from voting on the motion for no other reason. But there was a proper fact finding where he was found guilty of misconduct and corruption. You must understand, these fact finding reports have a value of their own. And as Justice Banerjee pointed out, once there's a fact finding report, a prosecution can follow. Today, he has immunity from prosecution because he's a sitting judge, unless the Chief Justice of India gives permission to prosecute. So the first step is fact finding. And that fact finding happens inside Parliament, not outside Parliament. So I repeat, see, Rajdeep, what we have to understand is what for is this whole process being gone through? Because judges are meant to serve the public. Okay, who are they? Who are these judges? They're supposed to do justice. To whom? To people like you and me. And if there is even the slightest suspicion that a judge is corrupt, it's like a slur on the judiciary as a whole. Now, the Supreme Court has also tried to deal with this issue by simply transferring judges. It doesn't work, it has not worked. And therefore, I think it's really time that this impeachment is taken seriously.
No,
Yes,
but the
the
fact, Indira Jaising, precisely stemming from no, but the fact precisely stemming from what you said, there are those who say, why conduct this in-house inquiry in an opaque manner? Now you've had this three-judge bench, as you said, their report is not out in the public domain. Should there have been also a simultaneous police investigation? Some of these facts will be required to only be ascertained by a proper criminal investigation. Given the nature of the charges, cash is found in the house in these large vats. Can judges and in-house committee really be the fact-finding appropriate forum, or should it have been done by, dare I say, a proper police investigation?
See, Rajdeep, Parliament consists of the House of People and the Rajya Sabha. Obviously, these are our representatives, okay? Representatives of we, the people of India, okay? So, let me tell you, the impeachment proceedings happen in public, okay? The proceedings of the House are open to everybody. And everybody in the country has a right to know what's going on in the impeachment proceedings. Therefore, I consider it an appropriate forum in which these issues are debated. It's a different matter that Justice Ramaswamy boycotted the proceedings. I'm hoping that Justice Verma does not boycott these proceedings so that we get an opportunity to hear both sides of the matter. There is no burden.
No, but don't you need a police investigation to trace the source of the cash?
You do need it. But as Justice Banerjee pointed out, let's have the impeachment report to begin with. It is not a closed question whether he'll be prosecuted. Today, he is refusing to resign because he has immunity as a sitting judge. If he had resigned, there would have been a police case on the next date. Okay? So removal is really a precondition to his being prosecuted, so to say, failing which the Chief Justice of India will have to give permission to prosecute, which they have not given so far. They've opted for this process of impeachment, rather suggested it. No one can impeach. It's only the MPs who can take this decision. That also you must be very clear. Your viewers and your listeners must be very clear. No government can be given this power, because if the government is given the power, they can remove anybody they want to remove. No, it is in the hands of the MPs. The report is the property of the MPs. A copy should be given to each and every single one of the MPs, which has not been done. And I'm surprised at that.
I want to ask, therefore, both of you in conclusion, starting with you, Justice Banerjee, first. Will this be a deterrent? That's the big question. Lots of people out there will be asking, will this be a deterrent? Surely there's not corruption. Many believe exists in our judiciary at different levels. Will this case become a deterrent in your view if impeachment follows?
It will be somewhat of a deterrent, but I want a better system in place. We've got to devise a better system where something short of impeachment would also be available, because this impeachment sometimes becomes a political process, and it's not always where the result of the investigation or the culpability of the person concerned weighs in the ultimate consideration. So there should be something else, also a mechanism put in place, and all of this can be addressed together, together with the fine-tuning the appointments and elevation issue.
Indira Jaising, will this be a deterrent if this impeachment does actually go ahead in the next few weeks, months?
Rajdeep, I believe that the level of impunity of judges has reached such a high level that it may not be a deterrent. Secondly, I want to ask the question, why is the fountain of justice polluted at its source? By which I mean, why is there no better screening at the stage of appointment? So I agree with the learned judge, Justice Banerjee, who just said it's the entire system which needs a complete overhaul. The UPA government did introduce a Judicial Accountability and Standards Bill for some unknown reason, that bill was withdrawn. I do agree with the learned judge that there needs to be an intermediate system between impeachment and ultimate removal, or even to work as a deterrent. Today, where are the standards of conduct? We don't have standards of conduct. Look at the way the profession and the judiciary is behaving. It's like party after party. I don't know what to tell you, Rajdeep. I really don't know what to say. The kind of socializing that exists. And by the way, don't have a copy of the report, but I have reason to believe that not only is the judge indicted, there are certain other legal professionals also who are likely to be involved in this whole issue.
Right.
So it's the system really, it requires, as the learned judge says, a huge amount of change if it is going to serve the public.
That it really is it. Will the chickens now come home to roost? Will all the skeletons come tumbling out of the cupboard? Should an impeachment be followed by a proper police investigation? Judges surely are not above the law, and the judiciary needs far greater accountability is the message that's coming out. Indira Jaisingh and Justice Banerjee for joining me on my top talking point. I appreciate both of you speaking so plainly. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's turn from there to the latest on the politics over Operation Sindhur, where it seems that the tension between the Congress and its MP Shashi Tharoor is building by the day. Today, another Congress leader, Udit Raj, attacked Tharoor, questioning whether Tharoor was loyal anymore to the Congress or was acting as a spokesperson for the Modi government. Several other Congress leaders, including Jairam Ramesh, have retweeted what Udit Raj said, as a result of which the Tharoor versus Congress battle seems to be intensifying. There's also another battle within a battle in the opposition. Should there be a special session of Parliament to discuss Operation Sindhur? That's what the Trinamool Congress now wants. But other parties like the NCP and the DMK don't seem to be quite so gung-ho. Take a look at the politics of Operation Sindhur.
The Congress High Command has a new headache, Shashi Tharoor. First, the Congress MP from Kerala agreed to head a delegation to the US without a go-ahead from his party. Now his statements abroad are contradicting the party's past claims on surgical strikes undertaken by the Congress government.
But what has changed in recent years is that the terrorists have also realized they will have a price to pay. On that, let there be no doubt. When, for the first time, India breached the line of control between India and Pakistan to conduct a surgical strike on a terror base, a launch pad, the Uri strike.
शशि थरूर जी बीजेपी के सुपर प्रवक्ता हैं, जो बीजेपी के लोग नहीं कह पा रहे हैं। मोदी जी की चमचागिरी या मोदी जी का गुणगान जितना वो नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, और बीजेपी के लोग उससे ज़्यादा शशि थरूर कर रहे हैं।
The Congress shared a statement by Manmohan Singh on X, marking it to Tharoor. Meanwhile, Operation Sindhur has left India bloc divided. The Trinamool Congress on Wednesday made a strong pitch for a special session of Parliament to discuss the terror attack in Pahalgam and the events that followed.
ये मांग सबसे पहले इंडिपेंडेंट एमपी कपिल सिब्बल ने उठाई थी। उन्हीं के सपोर्ट में हम भी इसको दोहरा रहे हैं, सारे दल ये दोहरा रहे हैं। तो किस तरह से इसको हम आगे बढ़ाएंगे, किस तरह से एक दूसरे के साथ आलोचना करके इसको चर्चा करके इसको आगे बढ़ाएंगे, वो अब जान जाएंगे 2-3 दिन।
The principal opposition party, Congress, was the first to seek a special session.
पार्लियामेंट बुलाई है, सभी लोग डिस्कस करेंगे क्या स्थिति है और आगे क्या कर रहे हैं और हम लोग क्या करना, इसके बारे में अगर प्राइम मिनिस्टर कह दिए और सारे देश को भी मालूम होता है, अगर पार्लियामेंट बुलाएंगे, चर्चा हो जाएगी तो ठीक रहेगा। हमारा ये डिमांड है।
While some opposition parties are silent, Sharad Pawar's NCP has differed with the Congress and the TMC on the demand for special parliament session.
Any terrorist attack on India, we support the government, whichever it's the government of the time. That's point number one. And second, is very clear that this is not the time to debate this issue in parliament. Right now, we stand united as one India.
With the political consensus on Operation Sindhur almost breaking down, the BJP looks set to capitalize on these divisions within the opposition ahead of the monsoon session of Parliament. Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's turn to another big story. In a major move, the Trump administration in the United States has now decided to halt all new student visa interviews worldwide. What does this mean for Indian students? And is the American dream now over for many thousands of students across the world? Let's break it down in our next report.
What do we do? I said with immigrants, every student is welcome here. Thank you.
As tensions rise between US President Donald Trump and Harvard University, a fresh blow lands, this time on international students.
And now, what do we do?
The Trump administration has ordered US embassies worldwide to pause all new student visa appointments. The State Department is tightening its grip, prepping to expand social media vetting for international students. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirmed that consular sections must suspend new visa interview scheduling until further notice. Previously, this vetting focused on students involved in pro-Palestine demonstrations. Now the crackdown broadens, citing concerns over anti-Semitism and political unrest on US campuses. President Donald Trump had earlier this week doubled down on his demand for the list of names of international students enrolled at Harvard.
We want to know who the people. Now, a lot of the foreign students we wouldn't have a problem with. I'm not going to have a problem with foreign students, but it shouldn't be 31%. It's too much because we have Americans that want to go there and to other places, and they can't go there because you have 31% foreign. Now, no foreign government contributes money to Harvard. We do. So why are they doing so many? Number one. Number two, we want a list of those foreign students, and we'll find out whether or not they're okay.
Every student's welcome here.
This week on Harvard campus, hundreds rallied, students and professors standing united, defending the rights of foreign students as Washington moves to slash funding and revoke visa privileges.
We're a country founded on immigrants, and we're a country, one of our core values is being welcoming to immigrants from all across America, all across the world into American shores. And I think that we've really gotten away from that core value.
When we go back home, most of us serve as ambassadors to the country in an informal way. We go back to strengthen American ties with our countries. We are actually participating in the system, making this country bigger, if you want it, better in a sense. And so I will just say that we are not the enemy. You don't have to fight us.
I think that Trump's attacks on higher education stop, because if we show enough resistance, then he is going to fold. That's how Trump works. We have to stop him now, and if we do, I believe that we can succeed.
With nearly 30% of international students in the US hailing from India, Indian students will be hit the hardest by the Trump administration's latest move to put new student visas on hold. The pause affects fall 2025 first-time applicants, J1 visa seekers, and those yet to book an interview. If interviews are already scheduled, those will continue. But for the rest, uncertainty looms. The visa freeze, though temporary, comes with no end date. Students can still apply online but won't be able to schedule interviews. Until clarity emerges, Indian applicants are urged to stay in touch with their universities, consider deferrals, and watch for updates from the US Embassy. Bureau Report, India Today.
So the latest twist in the Trump saga, this clampdown on student visas now. What does it mean for Indian students in particular? Joining me now, two very special guests. Viral Doshi is an education consultant and mentor who works with several students wishing to go to America. And with us, Rishabh Shah, founder India's international movement to the United Nations. Thank you both very much for joining me. I want to come to you, Viral, first. How do you see this move of the Trump administration? Does this mean that it's going to become more and more difficult now for Indian students who want to go to America over the next few years to study?
Honestly, no. To be honest with you, what they have done is they've just halted the issuance of visa interviews. They've not told that visas are not going to be issued anymore. They just halted the visa interviews till such time that they get the social media policy into place. And once they get that into place, they'll again start doing the interviews for all the students. And this is not something only for India. It's all over the world. All international students have been impacted by this diktat from the Secretary of State, Mr. Rubio. So I think it's a question of time that we will come back. I think another week or two, they will come back to the diktat. And once they have the diktat in place, believe me, it'll be very good for students. They will get the visas. I don't think there's anything to worry at all on this issue.
No, so what are you saying, Viral? Because most terms in America begin in August. We are already towards the end of May. Are you saying that within the next month, this will be sorted out in a manner that the students who have already got their admissions in American universities by August will be able to go there?
I 100% think so. If you look at it, out of most students who have got admissions for August and September, I would say 50% have got their visa interviews all lined up. Maybe 50% haven't. But I think in the next 1 or 2 weeks, when they get this policy into place, they will be giving priority interviews to students in June and July to get them off to go to America in August and September. So I think there's a lot of worry right now. People are concerned. It's just, the news has been just unfolding yesterday. So I think give it some time. I think it will work out well for all. So I don't think parents should be worried. I think, yes, it is a bit of a concern. But as much as we want to go there, they also require international students. And this is not only impacting India, it's impacting students all across the world. So they will sort it out. Give them some time, I would say.
Okay, you're saying give it some time, things will get sorted out. Meanwhile, Rishabh, I brought you in the studio because this morning you put out a very interesting Instagram post where you seem to suggest that all of this leads to a big question mark. Why this desperation to go to the United States, to go to foreign universities? Amplify the point that I thought was a rather interesting one as to why you believe the Trump order in a way should be a wake-up call for a number of Indian students and their parents.
Firstly, thank you, sir, for having me here. It's an honor. But in terms of what you did mention, I think it's time to go away from the American dream. It's time to start building an Indian dream. I personally believe that a lot of students do benefit, of course, from the super specialization that they get in American universities and universities overseas. But I feel that there is also a huge amount of loan that students have to take. In the last few years alone, if one sees, there are about 461,000 students who've taken a loan, which is to the tune of 39,000 crore. Now, is it really necessary in order to take this kind of a loan to go overseas? How many people actually land up getting jobs? On an average, it's 60 lakh rupees per year that a student has to pay, and then eventually you get a job which is roughly $50,000 to $60,000. So 10 years just goes in paying back these loans, and that is if you get a job. And most of the students are coming back without a job. So I think what the Trump administration has done, I think is a blessing in disguise. For anybody who's watching, perhaps it's not as important to go overseas as much as it is in order to do hard work. So sir, just quickly, I would say that it's not Harvard, but it's hard work that actually make it the man.
You know, you're giving the Narendra Modi line there. Forget Harvard, do the hard work. But you threw two numbers at me. Your source of those numbers, that 39,000 crores are being put in by Indian students just in American universities. Am I correct?
Right. In fact, this is a report by India Today itself. So there is, you all have published it. And apart from this, it's 37 billion that we used to be sending across in 2019. Now it is 70 billion. So the number of students who are going overseas is only increasing. So somewhere we are not fixing the education problem in our country. Somewhere all education consultants are just sending students overseas without actually seeing whether these students are capable, competent, and should also in the first place be taking this kind of a loan in order to study overseas. So
you agree with Viral, with what I just heard from Rishabh? The numbers that I have is about 3,31,602 Indian students were in the US in 2023-24. Here is Rishabh saying, give up almost on your American dream and nurture an Indian dream instead. Do you agree with him, or do you think that's a bit of an overreaction?
No, I don't think so. I think what he says makes a lot of sense. You know, over the last 6 months, I've seen students who have been studying there, they're not getting any internships at all. Even students who have graduated, barely 40 to 50% of my students have got jobs in America. So I've told everybody that if you're going to spend this sort of money, $100,000 a year for 4 years for undergraduate studies, or $100,000 for 2 years for postgraduate studies, you'll be mentally prepared that you will have to return to India. And India is a happening place. That dream of what Rishabh was just mentioning, that you go to America, you work, you study there, you work for 3 years, do your postgraduate degree, that dream is going to be shattered. I'm seeing jobs are going more to the American citizens. Indian citizens are being left out. So that desire to go to America should be there. You should recalibrate your thought process. You're going to America for the education, for the research, for the opportunities. Because even to stay back in India, it's so difficult in Indian colleges. So by default, people are going abroad, not because they want to. The number of Indian universities coming up in India, students are looking at India very excitedly. But where do you get in? Where do you get into IIT, a medical school, or even a new age school like Ashoka or Priya? It's becoming so competitive. So by default, they're going abroad. But Rishabh is absolutely right. After spending so much of money, what is the return on investment? That's a challenge. So you're going there, remember, as an investment. You will not go there to settle down or to work out there as an investment, like buying a new house or buying a new property. You're investing in education out there.
But would you make a distinction, Viral, between those who are going for postgraduate specialized or super specialized courses? If I'm going for MIT for a postgraduate after being an IITian, would you make a distinction between someone like that and someone going for a general humanities course where he or she may be spending 50 to 60 lakhs per year for a 4-year course comes to 2.5 crores? Do you believe we should make that distinction, be careful about going at undergraduate level, but take all the opportunities at postgraduate? Is that the distinction that now needs to be drawn given this clampdown?
No, at the end of the day, you must remember, India has come a long way. Affluency has increased. Foreign exchange is now freely available. Internet has become a level playing field, allowing students from 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th year cities to apply to go abroad. And also international schools have come up. So the desire to go abroad is only exponentially increased for undergraduate studies. Whether it's going to add value to them or not is another story. But because admissions in India are so difficult, just think of it. For one good college in India, which has opened up for higher education, there are like 50 schools which have opened up. It's a funneling effect. So when these schools students are graduating, they can't get into Indian colleges. So by default, they're looking at going overseas, and they can afford it today, which was not the case earlier. But eventually, if a student has the ability to stay back in India, he can get into a good Indian college. I'm a big fan of staying back in India, going for a postgraduate degree abroad. And these are the winners you see in America, all the founders in Silicon Valley. People have been very successful, have homegrown in India, and then a postgraduate degree abroad. So I think still going for a postgraduate degree abroad is worthwhile, and you will get that skill set that will make you successful in whatever you do in life.
You know, Rishabh, you run a students' organization. You interact with thousands of students across this country. The point that Viral makes there, many of our higher education universities are simply not up to it, or there is a demand-supply problem, and therefore students are almost pushed to go abroad, look for a education abroad. Not just America, people are going to Australia, Canada, the United Kingdom, different places. Are you telling me that these students genuinely would like to stay back and do an education in India if they had half a choice? Or are they going because, you know, Harvard is a great brand name. If you want to get into an Ivy League college, why will I not go?
No, firstly, I think that, you know, if they had an opportunity and if we had good institutions in India, I don't think anybody would want to leave the country. I do feel if you're not from the 1%ers and if you are from that 1%er, then you can take a 60 lakh paid vacation. This is what I think an undergraduate course gives you overseas.
You're calling it a paid vacation?
I
mean, surely not. I mean, are you telling me going to Harvard is a paid vacation for an undergrad course?
Because today, when it comes to recruitment, when it comes to employment, there is no metric in terms of if you finished at Harvard, you are as good as finishing at HR college. The acceptance in terms of companies from Harvard University, the number of graduates who have actually gotten a job and the number of graduates at say a St. Stephen's or an HR or St. Xavier's college is also roughly now going to become the same. Plus we got AI and we live in that world where it's chat GPT enabled. So I think gone are the days where essentially you used to only get education in Harvard University or in the Oxfords of the world. But you touched upon something very important, sir. You said that the education system in the country is not up to the mark. And if I can quickly just elucidate, it was in 1968 that the first NPE came through, the National Policy on Education. Then in 86, you had the National Policy on Education saying that 6% needs to be given. The same 6% is mentioned in what has now been changed from NPE beautifully to NEP. But no government has spent 6% on education when there are countries like Djibouti, when there are countries like Namibia who spend much more than 6%. So I think the real problem is that we are not giving enough impetus to education in our country. If we only did that, I think the thousands of students, at least the very many that I work with, would not choose to go to universities overseas. And it's also because it's set in their brains, sir. I think somewhere, my sister also went overseas in order to study. It's set in their brain. She studied in an IB school saying, "Pehle SAT karo, SAT examination ke baad Ivy League school mein jao. Then at the end of that, you'll get a fancy salary." But the reality check in this is, after the Ivy League schools, sir, today they are not getting jobs. And then they're having to come back. And that is becoming a problem.
All of this, of course, as I said, has been triggered by the uncertainty created by the Trump order. Viral, just yesterday, the US Embassy in India released a clear message to students currently enrolled in American education institutes. I want to quote them. If you drop out, skip classes, leave your program of study without informing your school, your student visa may be revoked and you may lose eligibility for future US visas. All of this uncertainty is surely not helpful. What is your final advice, therefore, to all those thousands of students lining up or indeed enrolled in US universities today?
See, by and large, if you look at historically, Indian students who have studied in America, they've always followed the line. They always followed the order. They never went beyond the order. So these are exceptional cases which would happen where you would not report some bunking classes or not getting your job or getting a job. So I don't think this is going to impact Indian students so much at all between you and me. But we should take cognizance of this. So this is going to happen now. It is no more the America which was there previously to the Trump administration. There'll be a lot of monitoring of your social media, and especially political activism is something going to be a complete no-no. And I tell you, I've had incidents of students going to America at the airport being stopped and asked to step aside, and their phone would be taken and they would be checked what is your social media for the last 15, 20 years. So this is something we should be I would tell any student, yes, you're going to a country as a guest, host is America, follow the rules and regulations. If you follow that, you should be a happy person.
Okay. Final word from you, Rishabh. What's your advice to all those who are planning to go out there?
I think you should also look at alternatives. These alternatives exist in a country called India, and definitely some of the universities that are overseas are much better than the schools that are there in our country. But we've also got something which the previous generations didn't, and that is something that's called internet. That's something that's called a mobile phone, a chat GPT, and I think everything that was once available in the classrooms that were called Ivy League schools is now available on your phone. And the international exposure, if somebody is talking about that, go do an ISEC internship, go do an IMON internship, and you'll get the same kind of exposure that you get in an Ivy League school.
Let me leave it there. Two interesting viewpoints being expressed there. I'm not sure whether it is quite simply don't worry, be happy. It is an uncertain time, and with the Trump administration, who knows? He may wake up tomorrow and just change his mind once again and remove the uncertainty. That's the way Donald Trump operates. But for now, Viral Doshi, Rishabh Shah, appreciate you joining me on my talking point here.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajdeep.
Let's turn tonight to our Get Real India story. Now, the centre and state government spend crores on sanitation projects. But what if we told you there are schools and colleges that are still struggling for water supply and sometimes even access to clean toilets? Tonight's Get Real India story is Sumi Rajappan's ground report from Chhattisgarh.
The functional ones don't have doors. No water supply. No power supply. This is a government college in Bijapur district of Chhattisgarh.
In this college in Bijapur, the female students and the staff share toilets with male students and staff. No promises, no water, no light, and no response from the authorities. It's not just unhygienic, it's dangerous.
All this when the Bijapur district received over 300 crore rupees under the district mineral fund in recent years. Money meant for basic infrastructure like toilets, drinking water and roads.
बैठने के लिए बस व्यवस्था है और उसमें जो है ना तो बिजली है, पानी भी नहीं है और पानी जो है हम लोग जो है खुद जो है कभी-कभी जो है तो हैंड पंप से लाते हैं, बाल्टी से भर के खत्म हो जाता है तो वो फिर पड़ा रहता है। यहाँ पे बिजली नहीं है तो टीचर लोगों को भी दिक्कत हो रहा है, बच्चों को भी दिक्कत हो रहा है। बच्चे लोग है जो है 1 घंटा बैठते हैं और चले जाते हैं।
From lack of safety to hygiene, students have many woes.
तो हम लोग ऐसा करते हैं कि ऐसे पेयर में ही साथ में जाते हैं कि वॉशरूम जाएं तो दिक्कत ना हो। तो हम लोग पानी अगर बाहर से मंगा लेते हैं तो पहले उसको साफ कर लेते हैं फिर यूज करते हैं उसे।
डोर नहीं है, पानी की सुविधा कुछ नहीं है
और लाइट नहीं है वॉशरूम में, दरवाजे नहीं है, कैसे मैनेज करते हैं?
टॉर्च लेके जाते हैं, मोबाइल से टॉर्च लगाते हैं ताकि मतलब कुछ कीड़े मकोड़े को कुछ ना मिले, इसलिए वो सब देख कर हम लोग टॉर्च लगाकर हम लोग वॉशरूम यूज करते हैं। और सर लोग रहते हैं, हम लोग को अगर जाना रहता है वॉशरूम जाना रहता है तो सर लोगों को पहले देखना पड़ता है कि सभी सर लोग एक मतलब कहीं है तो उसके बाद ही हम लोग जाते हैं, क्योंकि दरवाजे नहीं है तब जाते हैं।
यहाँ की सफाई अच्छी नहीं है, पानी नहीं है, बिजली नहीं है, इस इन्वायरमेंट में कैसे सरवाइव कर रहे हैं तो इसको बहुत कठिन की परिस्थितियों की वजह से जो स्टूडेंट कभी कभी आते थे तो स्टूडेंट यहाँ से वॉशरूम यूज न करके बाहर जाते थे यूज करने के लिए, तो जंगलों में जाते थे बाहर, क्योंकि इतनी गंदगी में कौन जाएगा वहाँ पे, इतने सारे बैक्टीरियाज होते हैं वो पनपते रहते हैं, तो बाहर जाते थे। तो ये जब से घटनाएं हुई यहाँ पे विस्फोट हुआ है, यहाँ पे बम विस्फोट हुआ था जो हमारे 9 जवान शहीद हुए थे हमारे छत्तीसगढ़ के DRG के, तो यहाँ पे तो उसके वजह से उस टाइम की वजह से हम लोगों ने सर के द्वारा भी निर्देश निकाला गया कि कोई भी बच्चा कॉलेज के बाहर नहीं जाएगा।
At the Atmanand Government School in Narayanpur's Koka Mehta, students face similar problems. The Atmanand schools are part of a government flagship initiative aimed to provide quality English medium education.
जंगल में बाथरूम जाते हैं, बेया लोग भी रहते हैं, हमको शर्म लगता है, हम लोग को शौचालय मिल चाहिए, ये अच्छा है।
While the government has spent crores on Swachh Bharat, here in the heart of Chhattisgarh, the basic right to sanitation is still a distant dream. With Sumi Rajappan, Bureau Report, India Today.
From Get Real India, let's turn to our Only in India story. Now, what was supposed to be a routine hospital visit for 4 inmates from the Jaipur Central Jail turned into a city tour with poha breakfasts, hotel stays and reunions with wives and girlfriends. A total of 13 people, including 5 constables, were arrested after it became known that the inmates had allegedly paid bribes to enjoy a few hours of freedom outside the jail. It happens, well, only in India. Take a look.
A shocking jail scandal has come to light in Jaipur. 4 prisoners from the central jail were caught enjoying unauthorized outings at 2 different hotels. These 4 inmates initially faked illnesses with the help of the jail medical staff. Then the medical staff referred the inmates to a local hospital. They promised a bribe of 25,000 rupees to jail guards to move freely outside during medical visits. The inmates visited hotels to meet their wives and girlfriends.
कुछ नहीं किया, यहाँ कुछ नहीं हुआ उनका। यहाँ आए थे, उनकी हमने वो आईडी चेक करी, आईडी लोकल थी, हमने उनको रूम नहीं दिया यहाँ पे। वो बाहर गए, बाहर पुलिस खड़ी थी, बाहर पुलिस ने उसे अरेस्ट कर लिया। होटल के अंदर उन्होंने न रूम लिया, न नाश्ता करा, न खाना खाया, कुछ नहीं करा उन्होंने।
As soon as the officials came to know about the nefarious plot, they launched a search operation. One of the inmates' wife was found to be in possession of narcotics and was booked under the NDPS Act.
जिसकी कस्टडी में सौंपे थे, उन पुलिस गार्ड की उसमें संलिप्तता रही और उनको भी गिरफ्तार किया गया। पुलिस की गार्ड है और उनके जो साथ वहाँ मिले थे, वो लोग हमारे पास यहाँ जेल दाखिल कराए गए हैं और जो हमारे 4 जो प्रिजनर हैं, उनको अभी भी पुलिस कस्टडी में रखा गया है।
A case was registered at the Savai Man Singh police station and a search was conducted at the Jaipur Central Jail.
A total of 13 people have so far been arrested in this entire case, including 4 police personnel, and there is a possibility of more arrests being made in this entire sensational case which has come to the fore from Jaipur. With camera person Manish Devankur Vadhavan in Jaipur for India Today.
Okay, just about enough time to leave you with my fact check for the day. The fact check claim is that Rahul Gandhi, the Congress leader, has been planting actors to showcase his social media meetings, or all his social interactions have actors in them. We found out that this claim is a false one. Very clearly, this claim our fact check team has found is a false one. Remember, you should be very careful of what you see on social media in particular, which is why we bring you these fact checks. That's it on the show tonight. Thanks for watching News Without the Noise. Good night, goodbye. Jai Hind, Shubh Ratri, Namaskar.